Zombiegeddon is a game for 2 to 4 players. It plays in about 30 to 45 minutes. It's published by Twilight Creations and designed by Reiner Knizia. The game includes 216 discs, 112 of which have orange backs and 88 of which have white backs. They depict everything from zombies to weapons to supplies, as well as barricades and manhole covers. To begin the game, you place all the discs in one big stack, and then you select your slammer. I've chosen this slammer because it is obviously a vampire slammer. Wait, that's not right. To begin with, take all the orange-backed discs and place one in each space except for the orange and white bunker spaces. Give each player the 4 pawns in their color and the 4 supply discs in their color. Each player then places 1 pawn on each of the orange bunkers. Players take turns. On your turn, you will take 2 actions. Each action is moving your pawn 1 space. You can take both actions with the same pawn if you wish, or with 2 separate pawns. When you move off of a disc, you pick it up and set it face down in front of you. You do not pick up the manhole covered discs. Those stay in play. You cannot enter a space that contains another player unless that space is one of the bunkers or one of the manhole covers. You may not enter spaces containing a barricade at all. Additionally, you cannot enter a space containing an enemy unless you first discard one of your previously collected gun tokens. When your figure reaches one of the white bunkers, you place one of your supply markers on it. This continues until all the discs have been picked up that can be picked up, or players cannot move any further. Then, players may place one of their pawns in each bunker that they have a supply token in. If they do not have a supply token in a particular bunker, they don't get to place that pawn. Now you repeat the prior steps, except that you fill the spaces that are empty in with the white-backed discs. You move and claim discs as before, except now there are a lot of zombie discs out on the board, in addition to a few supply discs. Once all the white discs have been picked up or players can no longer move, the game ends. Players score points for their discs that have printed values, and they score points for having sets of matching discs that don't have values, except for guns, which don't count for anything if you have leftovers. And 5 points for each supply token you deliver to a pre-bomb shelter. This is a shrinking territory game like Hey That's My Fish or Amazons, but this game offers a little bit more variety of play than either of those. It scales well from 2 to 4 players. The biggest problem with this game is the graphic design. While the illustrations are all excellent and evocative of the theme, they all use a similar color palette and don't have a lot of symbols on them to distinguish them. So when they are all laid out, as at the beginning of the game, it's hard to tell where everything is. Once you've collected everything, it's easier to see where the immovable objects are and things like that. But until you've trained your eye to look for particular things, the board will look very muddy. Once you've conquered that hurdle, though, the game is a very fun game. And as long as all the players manage to supply all the bunkers, there's no real random element to the gameplay. You do get a lot of discs for your money, and there's not really anything to complain about as far as the quality of the boards or the discs. Some people say that the theme is not well represented. I think it is actually very decently represented. The only thing I wish there was more of was a little bit more of a tension element to the game. As long as you appreciate games with little or no luck element, and are okay with learning to discern the different discs, you will probably enjoy this game.